Scripting a wheelchair for anyone for the next 5 years can be a daunting task, and add the fact they've got a progressive condition and now it's getting really stressful. Oh my God, how do I make sure I got the right one for them? Here are 4 things you need to consider to make sure that you get the client the right chair. Number 1 is do your research, not just on the condition itself, but also variations of the condition. For instance, if you're working with someone with muscular dystrophy, you might have Duchenne's muscular dystrophy or Becker's muscular dystrophy, and they have 2 different prognoses. The best way to do your research is obviously use verified websites to understand the prognosis. You could speak to supervisors who have been doing it for a few years, who have probably made mistakes or had really good success with certain different outcomes. You also want to speak to the client because it's pretty likely that the client is going to have a fairly good understanding of their prognosis of their own condition. But then you also want to speak to the medical team, because if the client is anything like me, if you tell me I have any diagnosis, I'll just be like, nope, I'm fine, everything's going to be fine. So you also want to speak to the doctors as well to get a better understanding of your client's specific prognosis. So once you've researched the condition, then you want to do some good research on the kind of wheelchair bases that are available. In broad terms, you're pretty much going to have to determine the differences between a manual wheelchair with a power assist and a power wheelchair. I've got videos in my page explaining the differences and the pros and cons of each, but it's really important that you truly understand them so you can explain that to the clients, and when they're trying to make an informed decision, you can give them all the information they need to know. Your job isn't to work out which chair is right. Your job is to work out the pros and cons of each option. Bring that to your client so they can make an informed decision about the equipment that they're about to receive. Trust me, I've been there. I've been there speaking to a client where I know over the next 5 years, they're probably going to need a power chair for the ability to tilt so they can access the community a bit better, or they can have postural control or pressure relief. But you're just speaking to the client and they're very, very set on a manual wheelchair with a power assist. All I can do is tell them the pros and cons of each, and ultimately the decision is up to them. Don't forget to document. Third thing you want to consider is that if you go on a power wheelchair, really consider your power seat function. Now, tilt is a power seat function that you're going to get on most power chairs anyway. Power elevating leg rest is something that you can probably easily retrofit depending on the chair, but the ones that are very hard to retrofit is definitely seat elevation and sometimes power recline. So really discuss the options of seat elevation and power recline and determine if it's going to be needed in the future. For instance, someone might be doing a standing transfer and it might be fine, but you want to have seat elevation for in the future to make it easier for them to stand out of the chair. And number 4, again, if you go on a power wheelchair, you want to consider expandable or non-expandable controls. To make it easier, generally speaking, the non-expandable controls are the ones with like the LED lights, and the expandable controls are the ones with the screen. Now, expandable controls are really, really good because you can add alternate controls. Say if someone needs to drive with their head, or if they need to access switches like little buttons to be able to change certain things on the chair, to tilt the chair or to change profile. But they're your 4 main considerations. Headrest, backrest, cushions can all be changed. When you are delivering equipment, it's important that you explain to the client how to do a self-assessment on their own seating. If we're expecting their condition to change, then their seating is probably going to change as well. So maybe explain to them what it looks like when someone's sliding forward a lot, right? There might be a bit of a gap between their knee and the cushion. Or what it looks like when someone's leaning, right? Maybe you want to show them that, hey, if you're noticing one shoulder's higher than the other, then it might be good to call us out to do a seating review. So try to give them prompts to understand what bad seating will look like, because we know that the seating is going to change over time. So that's it. Do your research on the condition. Make sure you do your research on the equipment and understand the pros and cons of each. Really understand if you need power seat elevate or power recline, and make sure you're using expandable controls. Doing those 4 things and explaining to the client how to review their own seating is going to make sure that you're going to give them the chair that they absolutely need for the next 5 years. Good luck with it.